Welcome back. Tonight we're diving into chilling, allegedly true stories that tap into our deepest fears. The unknown, the unseen, the feeling that we're not as safe as we think. These aren't just tales, they're personal accounts from people who claim to have faced the unexplainable. As you listen, imagine yourself in their shoes. What would you do if the nightmare was yours? The line between reality and terror is thinner than you think. Let's begin. We delve into the realm of the unexplained with our first tale. It's a story that whispers from the shadows, a chilling account that blurs the line between childhood imagination and something far more sinister. Our story comes from Mark, who as a child was drawn to the forbidden basement of his old house. It was a place shrouded in mystery, a dark abyss that beckoned with an irresistible allure. Despite stern warnings from his parents, curiosity, that insatiable childhood companion, got the better of him. The basement held a magnetic pull, a siren song that promised adventure and the thrill of the unknown. It happened one dreary, rain-soaked afternoon when he was home alone, the house echoing with an unsettling silence. The rhythmic drumming of rain against the windows only amplified the allure of the forbidden depths below. Armed with a trusty flashlight, his only weapon against the darkness, he prepared to face the unknown. He grabbed a flashlight, its beam a fragile promise of safety in the encroaching gloom. With a deep breath and a pounding heart, he descended the creaky stairs, each step a commitment to the adventure, or perhaps to the terror that awaited. The old wooden staircase groaned under his weight, each creak a mournful protest against his intrusion. The air grew heavy, the atmosphere thick with damp and a strange, unsettling metallic tang that tickled his nostrils. It was a smell that spoke of forgotten things, of secrets buried deep within the earth. The basement was a labyrinthine maze of towering boxes, forgotten relics and furniture shrouded in ghostly white sheets. It was a chaotic collection of memories, a silent testament to lives lived and stories untold. It was spooky, undeniably so, but also thrilling, an irresistible combination for a young boy seeking adventure. Each covered object held the promise of discovery. Each shadow whispered secrets in the dim light. As Mark ventured deeper into the basement's embrace, his flashlight beam danced across a cracked antique mirror, and he caught a fleeting flicker of movement in its depths. It was a subtle shift, a momentary distortion that sent a shiver down his spine. He spun around, heart pounding in his chest, but there was nothing there, only the oppressive darkness and the silent, watchful shadows. The beam of his flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing only empty corners and dust-laden surfaces. The silence in the basement grew heavy, pressing down on him like a physical weight, amplifying the feeling of unease. It was a silence that hummed with an unseen energy, a silence that felt pregnant with anticipation. Then, the unsettling sense of being watched crept in, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck, a feeling that unseen eyes were boring into him from the darkness. It was a primal fear, the instinctive awareness of a predator lurking nearby. He tried to dismiss it as mere imagination, the product of an overactive mind fueled by scary stories, but the feeling persisted, clinging to him like a shroud. He tried to ignore it, to convince himself that it was just the shadows playing tricks on his eyes, but the feeling only intensified, growing stronger with each passing moment, until it became an almost unbearable weight on his chest. The shadows seemed to deepen, to coalesce into menacing shapes that danced just beyond the reach of his flashlight beam. Overwhelmed by a sudden surge of fear, and ready to abandon his adventure, Mark turned toward the stairs, his heart pounding in his ears like a drum. He longed for the safety of the world above, for the warmth and light of his familiar home. It was then, as he glanced back one last time, that he saw it, a sight that would forever be etched into the darkest corners of his memory. And saw it. By the old hulking furnace, lurking in the deepest shadows, stood a tall, impossibly thin shadow, a grotesque parody of a human form. It was a silhouette of pure darkness, a being that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. It was featureless and black, an absence of light rather than a presence, absorbing the light around it like a black hole devouring stars. It seemed to drink in the light, leaving only an oppressive void in its wake. Frozen in terror, his muscles locked in place, Mark could only stare in abject horror as his trembling hand lost its grip on the flashlight. The flashlight slipped from his grasp, clattering against the concrete floor. The fragile beam of light flickered and died, plunging him into a suffocating, absolute darkness. Darkness swallowed him whole, a terrifying, all-encompassing void. In the suffocating blackness, he heard a slow, wet shuffling sound behind him, a sound that sent icy tendrils of fear snaking through his veins. It was the sound of something moving, something getting closer, something undeniably unnatural. The shuffling grew louder, closer, closer, each step a hammer blow against his sanity. Closer, closer! Panic seized him, and scrambling blindly in the darkness, his hands outstretched, he desperately sought the stairs, his only escape from the encroaching horror. He stumbled and fell, scraping his knees on the rough concrete, but he didn't dare stop. Finally, his fingers brushed against the familiar wood of the staircase, and he bolted up, driven by a primal instinct to survive, slamming the heavy basement door behind him with all his might. He didn't look back, didn't dare to see what might be pursuing him. As he stood there, gasping for breath, he heard something thud softly against the other side of the wood, a muffled impact that resonated deep within his bones. On the other side, something thudded softly against the wood. Mark never told his parents about what he saw, convinced they would never believe him. He never entered the basement again, forever haunted by the memory of that day. He sealed it off in his mind, a dark and forbidden place that he vowed never to revisit. But years later, the memory still claws at him, surfacing in his nightmares, waking him in the dead of night, drenched in a cold sweat. Years later, he still wakes at night, haunted by the memory. And sometimes, late at night, when the house is still and quiet, he swears he hears that same slow, wet shuffling outside his bedroom door, a chilling reminder of the terror that lurks just beyond the veil of reality. And sometimes, he swears he hears that same shuffling outside his bedroom door. Was it all just a trick of the mind, a figment of a child's overactive imagination? Or was it something real, something malevolent, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to strike? Was it a trick of the mind, or something real lurking in the shadows? Mark to this day believes it was real, that something truly sinister resided in that basement, and that it remembers him, that it's still waiting for him. Mark believes it was real, and that it remembers him. The not knowing, the uncertainty, is the worst part of it all, the constant questioning of what he saw, what he heard, what he felt. The not knowing is the worst part. It's a fear that lingers long after the lights are on, a shadow that stretches across his life, a constant reminder of the darkness that lies just beneath the surface. A fear that lingers long after the lights are on. He warns us with the weight of his experience that sometimes the monsters we fear as children are not mere figments of our imagination, but something far more real, far more dangerous. He warns, sometimes the monsters we fear as children are more than just imagination. The shadow in the basement became his personal ghost story, a chilling tale he carries with him, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks within the ordinary. The shadow in the basement became his personal ghost story. It's a chilling reminder that some places are best left unexplored, that some doors are best left unopened, that some secrets are best left buried. A chilling reminder that some places are best left unexplored. What do you think? Could a place, a building, a basement hold on to something so malevolent, so dark, so utterly terrifying? What do you think? Could a place hold on to something so malevolent? Could it be waiting in the dark, patiently biding its time, for some unsuspecting soul to stumble upon it, to awaken it from its slumber? Waiting in darkness for someone to stumble upon it? Mark's story is a stark testament to the terror that can lurk just a few steps below our feet, a chilling reminder that the darkness is always waiting, just beyond the reach of the light. Mark's story is a stark testament to the terror that can lurk just a few steps below our feet. Tonight, we delve into the unsettling realm where technology and terror intertwine. Our next story comes from Chloe, a young woman whose life took a sinister turn, not within the confines of a haunted house, but through the seemingly innocuous device in her hand, her phone. This is a tale of modern dread, where the familiar comfort of connectivity becomes a gateway to unimaginable fear. It started subtly, insidiously, with late-night calls from a blocked number. These weren't fleeting, accidental misdials. They were persistent, arriving with an unnerving regularity. Each ring was a prickle of unease, a silent invasion of her personal space. The silence on the other end was perhaps the most disturbing aspect, a void filled only with the weight of unknown intent. Night after night, the calls persisted, chipping away at her resolve. Curiosity, that dangerous human trait, eventually won. One night, sleep-deprived and desperate for answers, she answered the call. The line was initially dead, a chilling expanse of nothingness. Then a sound, barely audible, broke the silence. Slow, steady breathing. It was close, intimate, as if the caller were standing right beside her, invading her very breath. The single call opened the floodgates. The calls became nightly occurrences, an unwelcome ritual disrupting her sleep and sanity. But the caller wasn't content with just phone calls. Then came the texts, a new level of violation. The messages were simple, yet deeply unsettling. "I know you're awake," one read, implying constant surveillance. Another, even more disturbing. "You look pretty when you sleep." The words painted a vivid picture of someone watching her, invading her most private moments. Chloe lived on the third floor of a seemingly secure apartment building. The windows offered a degree of privacy, or so she thought. No one should have been able to see her, especially not in the dead of night. The realization that someone was watching, close enough to observe her sleeping form, sent shivers down her spine. Desperate, Chloe turned to the authorities, hoping for a swift resolution. But the police could do little to help. The blocked numbers were untraceable, bouncing through proxy servers and burner phones, leaving no digital footprint. The stalker was a ghost in the machine. The messages escalated, growing more personal and specific, revealing an unnerving level of observation. They went beyond generalities, focusing on minute details. The stalker seemed to know everything about her daily life. The messages grew more personal, comments on her clothes, her dinner, the meals she prepared and ate alone in her apartment, her TV shows. He knew what she watched, when she watched, and even commented on specific scenes. Determined to regain control, she took drastic measures. She wiped her devices, factory resetting her phone and laptop. She installed new security software, firewalls, and antivirus programs, hoping to create an impenetrable digital fortress. For 2 days, an eerie silence descended, a false sense of peace. The reprieve was short-lived. Then, the unthinkable happened. Her phone rang, displaying a number she knew all too well, her own number calling. She answered, her hand trembling. A distorted voice, warped and unrecognizable, whispered through the speaker. "Did you miss me? Wiping your phone won't get rid of me," the voice rasped, a chilling confirmation that her efforts were futile. "I'm not in your phone, Chloe. I'm in your walls." The words hung in the air, heavy with dread, suggesting a presence far more insidious than a simple hacker. At that moment, as if on cue, she heard a faint scratching sound emanating from the other side of her bedroom wall. It was a subtle sound, but in the context of the call, it was deafening. Reason abandoned her. Terrified beyond measure, Chloe fled her apartment, leaving everything behind. She never returned, unable to shake the feeling that she was being watched. She moved to a new city, changed her number, and desperately tried to erase her digital life, hoping to vanish from the stalker's radar. The stalker was never found, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and lingering fear. Was it a disgruntled neighbor, a skilled hacker with malicious intent, or something far more sinister, something beyond human comprehension? The phrase "I'm in your walls" continues to haunt her dreams, a constant reminder of the violation she endured, a violation so deep and pervasive it's almost incomprehensible. Chloe's story serves as a chilling reminder of the dark side of technology, how easily it can be twisted into a tool for terror, blurring the lines between the real and virtual worlds. It highlights the vulnerability we all face in an age where our lives are increasingly lived online, where the boundary between digital and physical threats is becoming increasingly porous. In a world where we're always connected, constantly sharing information and experiences, are we ever truly safe from those who seek to exploit our digital footprints? Her terrifying experience leaves us with a chilling question that lingers long after the story ends. Is someone always watching, listening, waiting in the shadows for the perfect moment to call, to strike, to shatter our sense of security? Our final story tonight takes us down a lonely highway, a modern take on a classic legend, a tale as old as the open road itself. These stories echo through generations, whispered around campfires and truck stops. This one was sent in by Al, a veteran truck driver, a man who's seen more miles than most of us have seen days. He's a man of the road, a seasoned professional, but even he couldn't explain what happened that night. It happened one foggy night in rural Oregon, a place where the trees stand tall and the shadows run deep, the kind of night where the fog hangs heavy, blurring the line between reality and something else. Al spotted a young woman in a white dress hitchhiking on a deserted highway. She was standing alone, a solitary figure against the backdrop of the dark, a beacon in the mist. Against company policy and perhaps against his better judgment, he stopped. The rules are there for a reason, but something about her made him pause. She said her car broke down a few miles back and asked for a ride to her parents' farmhouse, said it was just up the road. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, barely audible above the rumble of the engine. She was pale, almost translucent in the dim light of the cab, barefoot despite the chill in the air, and she smelled faintly of lavender, a delicate fragrance that seemed strangely out of place on that desolate road. It was a comforting scent, yet it did little to ease the growing unease in Al's mind. Her answers were vague, almost evasive, her presence chilling, like a cold draft on the back of his neck. He tried to make conversation, but she offered little in return, lost in her own thoughts. As they neared the farmhouse, a dilapidated structure barely visible through the fog, she pointed and said, "It's just up here." Her voice was barely a whisper. Al pulled over, the gravel crunching beneath the tires as the truck came to a halt. He put the truck in park, ready to let her off, but when he turned to her to say goodbye, the seat was empty. The space beside him was vacant, the lavender scent lingering in the air. No door had opened, the locks were still engaged. She had vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. Shaken to his core, Al walked to the farmhouse, his heart pounding in his chest with each step. He needed answers, some explanation for what he had just experienced. An elderly couple answered the door, their faces etched with worry and a deep, unspoken sadness. They looked weary, as if they carried the weight of the world on their shoulders. He explained that he'd just given their daughter a ride, hoping to ease their minds and perhaps find some clarity for himself. The old man's face fell, his eyes filled with a profound grief. "Our daughter died 30 years ago tonight, hit and run, right on that highway." Al was stunned, speechless, the blood draining from his face as the reality of the situation crashed down upon him. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The couple said he wasn't the first. Every few years, someone brings their daughter home, unknowingly offering her a ride to a place she can never truly reach. Al left in a daze, the fog thicker than ever, the silence deeper, heavier, pressing down on him from all sides. The world seemed to have shifted on its axis. He never picked up another hitchhiker, forever haunted by the memory of that night. The open road held a different kind of terror for him now. For Al, the vanishing hitchhiker isn't just folklore. It's a chilling, undeniable memory that haunts every empty seat beside him, a constant reminder of the night he encountered something beyond explanation. Are these stories just tricks of tired minds, hallucinations born of long hours and lonely roads? Or do they hint at something more profound, a moment when the past reaches out, desperate to touch the present, a glimpse into a reality that exists just beyond our understanding? Al doesn't have the answers, and perhaps no one ever will. But he knows what he saw, or what he believes he saw, and he'll never forget the chill of that night, the lavender scent, and the empty seat beside him. Our journey into the dark ends here. We've explored haunted basements, digital stalkers, and ghostly hitchhiker stories that linger long after they're told. These aren't just fleeting scares, they reshape lives and perceptions of reality. The unknown leaves a mark, a shadow that follows. If you've had a similar experience, share it below. You're not alone in your fears. If you want more stories, subscribe and turn on notifications. Until next time, try to get some sleep.